The guy ends up, I whacked 26 guys, and he's more afraid of you than me. Go figure. Greetings. This is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. My name is John Savers. I'm your host, and today we'll consider a recent film, Donnie Brasco. This film is based on an autobiographical tale by a former F.B.I. agent by the name of Joe Pistone. It's directed by Mike Newell, the editing by John Gregory. Music is by Patrick Doyle, and the photography by Peter Silva. The film stars Al Pacino, who gave a very good performance indeed, Johnny Depp, Anne Heck, and Michael Madsen, and a cast of many. This film is basically similar to the classic Greek tragedies in its structure, I think. As with a Greek tragedy, there is a tragic hero, and Lefty, played by Al Pacino, Lefty Ruggiero, is such a one. He is a man whose tragic flaw involves his pride as a wise guy or made man, and the misguided loyalties which he feels for his jurisdiction, his group, his body, his this little oligarchic group of rulers in Brooklyn, and this loyalty leads to his personal destruction. He's aided in this destruction by the Johnny Depp character, who, as an FBI undercover agent, manages to become a kind of surrogate son for not only is Lefty a person whose fate is almost sealed by his pride of place, he has an impaired love for his son, who is a junkie. At one point he says, "It tears my heart out." He tore my heart out. And this impaired paternal love is transferred to the Joe Pistone undercover character, Donnie Brasco. And this involvement by Lefty with Donnie Brasco also works to his demise. At the very end of this particular film, we have a kind of an epilogue in which we learn that the Donnie Brasco character, Joe Pistone, the agent, is returned to overt FBI agent status, but only briefly, because he is thereafter sort of killed off in the sense that he is given another identity, a false identity, put under protective cover, because there is something like a $500,000 contract out for Joe Pistone. So in the way, he has not a tragic, but a sad and demise, as it were, a conclusion to his life. One wonders how he could possibly fare well in protective custody, but this is his fate. Also, a characteristic of Greek plays, there is a chorus involvement in two ways. One in the form of a sort of singing printer or typewriter giving out data as to Joe Pistone's situation as Donnie Brasco. And also, we have Patrick Doyle utilizing the lyrics of popular music to clue in the audience about the situation occurring at that point in time, or in some cases being a little bit prophetic. I believe that the first music played when Lefty meets Donnie Brasco is Heart of My Heart. I love that melody. Too bad that we had to part. Those words. Oh, how we could harmonize, and they did harmonize for a while, at least it appeared that way. Of course, Donnie Brasco's character, however effective he may have been in this regard, was an agent, and therefore, within the context, duplicitous. The film opens up with sort of snapshots, black and white, and interchanged with moving film, and this sort of shows us the urban environment in which the main characters are involved, and we get a glimpse of the Al Pacino character, Lefty Ruggiero, and the other members of the gang, all looking rather nervous and shifty and so forth. And the black and white color kind of gives an idea of the grim and rigid structure that they actually live in. This is a world in which friends kill friends, and it's a rather predacious kind of world. We get a kind of touch of this by the Al Pacino character, Lefty, and his absorption with nature films depicting predator and prey, and watching cheetah and other large cats chase down and devour prey, such as Thompson's gazelles and so forth. And you could see how absorbed the Al Pacino character was in these events. And undoubtedly had a sense that he was participating in a world that was not entirely alien to that he was witnessing. He therefore may have felt a certain kinship. But at any rate, we meet Al Pacino in a bar. He enters, he sits down to have a drink. He notices a young fellow, mustache over across the way. We hear pool balls clacking in the background. Yes, waiter, who is that guy? And the waiter says, oh, that's Don the jeweler. And Lefty wonders, is he a wise guy? And he's told no, unconnected. And somehow came over, involved in New Jersey. Lefty goes over and talks to him, brings forth a diamond that he wants to get him to take off him, and meaning to buy and handle. This particular character, Don the jeweler, is Donnie Brasco, the Johnny Depp character, and he is playing a very kind of a cool game here, and basically says it's a fugazi, it's not good, it's not real, you know, don't really waste your time with this, my time either. And so Lefty's a little miffed by this. Basically, he lives in a world which in some ways resembles nobility for this reason. He is conscious of status. He tells Donnie Brasco at one point, you don't talk to wise guys. You don't say anything to a wise guy. Another point, he says, you don't leave me, I leave you. And he tells him, he's very conscious of status. He wants status. He tells Donnie Brasco at one point also, listen, I'm known in all the 5 boroughs. Everybody knows Lefty of Mulberry Street. So and he even expands that to the world. I'm known. Nevertheless, he looks otherwise like a unexceptionable sort of person, just kind of a regular guy, but nothing special in any way. But it is this connection which gives him the status which he clearly wants. But even within his group, he is frustrated because he has not moved up. He has given them 30 years and not really been raised up to the level. He has seen people like Sonny Black and Sonny Red go up higher than he has, and it annoys him. He says, well, I whacked 26 guys. I've been in the organization 30 years. Sonny Black was in the can. I took care of his family for him, and so forth. You know, I earned something more than what I'm getting. You know, and he said even a dog gets a warm piece of pavement to rest on. And what does he have to show for it? So he has these feelings within him that are not happy. Later, he kind of checks Donnie out, of course, before sharing any data, but he goes and talks to a guy in Jersey who supposedly knew Don the jeweler, and talks to him. He's at the barber getting a shave and so forth, and they talk. Where did he come from? Well, he's from Florida. Well, well, I can't just swear, you know. I'm not married to the guy, but you know, he seems like he's okay and whatnot. So Lefty's checking about, nosing about, seems to be pretty positive in regard to Donnie Brasco. He seems to be a stand-up guy, a favorite term by these fellows. Also, I will say this film is a little bit educational in regard to the culture and lingo, the patois of a family. At least it tries to be. In fact, at one point they have quite a little discussion about the term "forget it," and the Lefty character is taking the Donnie Brasco under his wing and grooming him for being a wise guy. And this is made very clear to all when he says, you do these things right, live according to the rules and so forth, be respectful and all that. When the book is opened, who knows, you may end up being a wise guy. So, 2, Pistone is also married, and his wife is quite unhappy about the situation. His being away frequently. They have 3 daughters, and they're kind of growing up without a dad, and she doesn't like this. And but basically, she married somebody. She expected him to be around, and that's not the case with Pistone. Joe Pistone is Donnie Brasco. And he said, well, you know what I'm doing, you know it's important and stuff. So they have it out, and it's not altogether happy, and the children are not too happy because he's missing things like birthdays and taking them here and there in the other place. He missed his daughter's first communion and so forth. So there's unhappiness in this aspect. He has pressure here and there. Going back to an earlier point, Donnie meets up with Lefty's main group, which is headed by a character played by Michael Madsen, known as Sonny Black. We also get introduction, a meeting of the other Sonny Red, who comes in, a kind of a hatchet-faced, predaceous-looking fellow, and he has a kind of like reddish-colored shoes on, presumably to maybe the origin of his title, with the Michael Madsen character favoring dark or black outfits. At any rate, it's rumored that I think Michael Madsen character maybe whacked the boss. At any rate, he is, or the man just ahead of them, he is put out of the way, and they divide the kingdom between the two Sonnys, with Sonny Red getting a little Italy and maybe a slice of New Jersey, Sonny Black getting Brooklyn. However, the Sonny Black character is unhappy about the take in his area. The guys seem to be doing penny ante kinds of stuff, and he says, look, I have to give $50,000 to Rusty every month. We're going to have to do better than this, or somebody's going to get whacked. So the message goes out. Now, it just so happens that Joe Pistone, as an agent, had been informed recently, that when he came up for air, so to speak, that they wanted to involve him with another agent undercover in Florida, a guy going by the name of Gatso. So this was arranged, and he was not sure that Donnie Brasco was going to take this information because it might be dangerous to his own life, but he does bring it up, and he said to Michael Madsen's character, Sonny Black, that they say Florida is wide open. So they think maybe of going down and taking a look and seeing what this Gatso was talking about. We see also a little bit of the domestic life of Lefty. Now he is married to a young Italian woman named Annette. We see her dressed in what appear to be a leopard outfit, kind of pants and blouse. Moreover, the first occasion when he thinks he's going to maybe get whacked, he's called down to the to see Sonny Black. He tells Donnie Brasco to give Annette to make sure that she gets the Cadillac. At the final scene, in which he gets a call, and this time he knows that he's going to get whacked because Donnie Brasco came out from undercover. All the FBI agents and police made themselves known, showed photographs. There was no doubt that Donnie Brasco, Joe Pistone, was the person who was the snitch. There was no doubt that Lefty Ruggiero was the person who had brought him into the organization, and therefore there was no doubt but that Lefty would get whacked. He was called down to see Sonny, and we see a scene of his taking off his watch and what money he had, all the valuables that he had on him, plus the keys to his Cadillac, and leaving them in a drawer for Annette before he goes. This is the last gesture he can do protective for her, and then he leaves. It kind of fades to black here. We hear gunshots, and it fades up from black to our seeing Joe Pistone firing his weapon at an FBI range. And from this, we don't ever see it, but we know that Lefty was whacked. It's tulip time in Texas. All the cowboys gather round, and they do the Texas two-step as they hoop and holler around. Yeah, it's tulip time in Texas. There's high shenanigans. It's tulip time, it's tulip time, it's two-step Texas time. Greetings, this is Top Hat and Buttered Popcorn. My name is John Savers. I'm your host, and today we'll consider a recent film, Jerry Maguire. This stars Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding Jr., Renee Zellweger, and Kelly Preston. The film involves a sports publicity agent, a fortune management agent, I think you might better call it. This is within the entertainment industry subsection sports, and it covers the whole 9 yards of sports. When many Americans hear the word sport, they have a pretty narrow focus: football, basketball, baseball. After that, a little scratching of the head. Well, hockey, maybe golf. But at any rate, these people were hunting anyone who might help out, bring in some bucks, add bucks, and so forth. The Olympics, of course, would be a good place to look. These people apparently start scouring this country very early, looking for talent at a very early age. The Tom Cruise character in this film works for something called Sports Management International, an organization apparently founded by a guy named Sugar, and to which Tom Cruise has devoted most of his adult effort. He's a young man, and apparently started fairly young, energetic. He has a knack for this line of work. He has something like 75 different sports figures under his particular control, or he's the man on top of their destiny in terms of ad money and so forth. But they're always looking for new talent because in some of these sports areas, people do get hurt, and their value, their ad value diminishes pretty quickly. They have an array of talent which is flashed as examples of the sort of people that Tom Cruise's character deals with. We have the up-and-coming young stars, the maid stars, and so forth. He is also something of a shallow guy. He basically does not want to have any kind of relationship, apparently, and pleasure is about as far as he needs to go. And we see examples of this. He has a girlfriend who's a very pretty, shapely woman, and apparently enjoys the physical aspects of life also. We learn later, also a little bit on the tough side. However, we see this guy as just riding the crest at this point in time. He seems to have everything going his way. And then we get a few calls from some of the people he manages, and we're introduced particularly to the Cuba Gooding character, a football player named Rod Tidwell, who is working for the Arizona Cardinals as a split end or flanker end receiver. He's not happy that he's not getting more loot, and he wants his man, Tom Cruise, to get with it and get that money. Somebody of the Rod Tidwell category might just get shunted aside a little bit, and that's the case at the outset with him. We see that he's an engaging guy, and I think that it would not have been hard at all for this particular film to be about Rod Tidwell, to be focusing on him and his family, and to see it from his perspective. He is an interesting guy. His family is interesting, and we see a good deal of them. This particular film is done with a little caricature to it, so that has to be taken into consideration. Still, it could easily have been a film in which the Cuba Gooding Jr. character was the main star, and the Tom Cruise character was the lesser element of the story. That he decides to write his feelings about the business that he's in, and how it's lost touch with the people aspect, the human aspect. lead figure in the Sports Management International doesn't, a guy named Sugar, and he thinks it's about time maybe for Tom Cruise to look for employment elsewhere. Cruise then is placed in direct competition with his boss, that is the boss's right-hand man and the boss eye to eye, and the boss comes out with a thumping victory. In the end, Cruise is forced out. He tries to save as many of the athletes that he has personally worked with as his new base of operations as an independent. Most of these athletes want to stay with the big boy, Sports Management International, rather than take a chance with this new entity, even though it's run by the well-known Tom Cruise figure. Well, anyway, the only person that he gets to come with him is an accountant, bookkeeper, played by the Zellweger. She is also a woman, a single parent. She has a kid, kind of like a cross between a munchkin and an owl, and all in all, a pretty cute kid. And apparently it sort of has an eye out for her dad. To see her son sort of bonding with this Tom Cruise, and she kind of fancies him too. And before you know it, they've fallen in love, or she has at any rate. He is not too changed from what he was before. Things don't look all that good for this guy, and that is the Tom Cruise character. It's interesting to see the development of the Rod Tidwell character. He becomes a star, and this all results in a big contract. Saves Cruise from the poorhouse. Cruise takes his family seriously, and the movie has a relatively happy ending.